And we are back with another special guest, Kim Ressler.
Yes.
Founder of SNiP Nutrigenomics.
That is correct.
Ooh. And tell us, I know I got that one. That's a hard one to spell, you were just saying before this, so you had to do some search engine revamping, but tell us exactly what is nutrigenomics.
So nutrigenomics is the study of nutrition based on genetics. Lots of studies. This isn't new science. It's very validated of understanding genetics and why you need what you need, in the format you need it, in the dose you need it, with the right cofactors, all put into one. So that's it. Nutrigenomics is the study of understanding that nutrition to virtually offset and prevent disease.
And this is a really personalized, like you were saying, this isn't just, okay, you're this age or this gender, let's give you a generalized amount or dosing for any type of, nutrition or vitamins. This is like, okay, genetic testing, based on this, we're gonna tell you exactly what your body needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are in the day and
amazing.
age. We need to understand why we're taking what we're taking and what we truly need.
Yeah.
What Jane said down the street worked for her might not work for you. Let's cut through the noise. Let's cut through the guesswork. That's what we do at SNiP.
So how did you get involved in this in the first place? What is your journey to this place?
So my journey is pretty interesting. My background was legal publishing.
Oh, that's a little different.
So very related.
Wait, I was just thinking those are complete opposites, Josh.
Anyway, it was I was in my late 30s. I have 4 children. I'm the mother of 4 children, and my baby girl. When I was pregnant with my baby girl, who's now 17, they noticed something interesting in my blood work. And at this point, I had retired from the tax law side, and with that, after my pregnancy, it was like a cascade of health issues. It was chronic fatigue, terrible digestion. I hadn't had that happen before. I didn't know, and I was like, is this what aging is all about? You just wake up and you don't feel well?
And based on that, you're sure it wasn't just because you already had 3 children and a newborn?
No, it was like, it wasn't just that. I mean, when I was pregnant with her, they said, there's something interesting going on with your blood work. They sent me off to an endocrinologist. Okay. So common thing is, however, 6 months pregnant, you couldn't tell I was pregnant, right? So in other words, I'm a small, thin person. Standard of care didn't see that this could be my issue, so they never tested me properly. Okay, so I go through this, and I'm with this endocrinologist for 5 years. I don't feel well. I'm chronically fatigued. My sleep is terrible. Then the cascade of other, it was like an avalanche. It was one thing after another that I didn't feel well chronically. It's funny to say it online and live, but chronically constipated. Suddenly, I had her in my late 30s. In my early 40s, it was hot sweats and night sweats and hot flashes. I was like, am I supposed to be doing this at this point in time?
Right, it seems a little early for menopause, maybe perimenopause, but still even early for that, right?
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And I was looking for answers. So through all of this, and I lived in Southern California, I was seeing all of these different providers. My blood work, my labs looked normal then. After pregnancy, all my the stuff that they were seeing looked normal, but I didn't feel well. So I was looking for answers. I went Ayurveda, I went vegan, I did crazy cleanses. I was your 6 to 7 mile a day hiker, Pilates 3 times a week. I was doing it all. So I was hiding behind the screen, not feeling well.
So, okay, your story is resonating, I think, with a lot of women, especially in that age group, feeling similar things. So what did you find that was the culprit?
So it was in 2014, my girlfriend called me and she said, they diagnosed my son with ADHD and they want to put him on medication and I won't do that. And she said, I think it lies in his genetics. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. So as I told you, we had moved to Idaho at the time, and I didn't have access to the same doctor that she was seeing. But I watched and I said, you've got to keep me posted. She said, I will not put him on medication. So as commonly people know, methylation, the MTHFR gene. I watched her spend $10,000 in 9 months on one gene, and they were giving this child folate in the format that he needed it. And they also recognized that gluten was causing him a problem. That's in your genetics. Night and day difference. I was like, oh my gosh, that could be the answer. Well, again, we were in Idaho. When we moved back to California, my husband and I were like, when are we going to start this? I said, this is a process. Genetic mapping is a process. And it takes time. And it takes it can take a lot of money. And then suddenly you're taking 30, 40, 50 supplements. Well, very shortly after that, the technology that I use to map the genetics landed in my lab. It literally did. And I was like, wow, it's not just methylation, it's oxidative stress, it's inflammation. And so that's what we have the ability to come in and literally address. Why are you taking what you're taking? Isn't the right format, isn't the right dose. These people that are taking 70 and 80 things, what is that doing to the liver? I mean, we are taxing it. So yes, that's what and when I addressed my genetics, it was energy, it was sleep, it was digestion, it was just a feeling of feeling better all the way around. So that's what I really work on now with providers as well as with people. It's your blood work's a snapshot of time. How are you feeling? You've got to mirror and marry the symptoms to the blood work so that, that's the whole picture. This is whole body health.
Yeah.
So
we talk a lot. I coach a lot of high performers. Okay, and we talk about optimizing, and we have roadmaps and planning for their retirement health and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you know about medicine 3.0 and personalization and all of this stuff, and what you're doing is really at the center of that, right? It's getting at the code of how we are actually the building blocks, right, of our cells and of our replication.
And that's the name of our product, Code Complex.
I didn't even know that. So that's fantastic. So I have a question for you, right? So as you're talking with either providers or patients or whatever at doing this, we have a couple layers of this. And I'm just being curious for a minute. So we have genetics, and then we've got epigenetics, right? And so for those of the folks that don't know, epigenetics are sort of they're the switches that turn on and off how those genes are functioning. Okay. So first of all, my first question is, how are you actually testing for the genetics? So are you doing blood work, and what's the turnaround time and all that kind of stuff?
Okay, so we do a cheek swab. Okay. It's a buccal swab. And the turnaround time, 21 business days at max, usually quicker, to see. And I'm only interested in actionable genes, and this is going to make you laugh, but I'm not interested in the genetics that say that you have a propensity to have a unibrow. I'm interested.
Thank God you don't have a unibrow.
I know, thank God you don't
or that you have the propensity to, right?
Right.
But I'm interested in, I'm not going after disease genes.
Sure.
I'm going after highly validated genes that impact us in adult onset disease.
Okay.
So I'm going after, and they're proven that they're actionable. Actionable, like you talked about, the epigenetics. Either you have variants or you don't, and the genes have the propensity to function optimally or don't. And can I explain kind of what that looks like?
Yes.
Okay. So if we think about it, in reality, and I want to make this very clear, when we come out of our mother's womb, we do not, unless we have some rare genetic mutation that is disease related, we don't come out with chronic inflammation, chronic aches and pains, gut issues, anxiety, etc. There's genes that impact all of this. You said it, epigenetically, lifestyle. Nutrition's one spoke in the wheel. I'm not the end all be all, right? But I'm very important in that wheel because it's you. It's what you're predisposed to, and I can see that. So when lifestyle happens, you had a forest fire, you breathed a lot of chemicals in, your body is predisposed. Those detox genes may not work optimally. They suddenly stop working because you've got those variants and you've had that that exposure, right? So we come in at a cellular level telling you exactly what you need and why you need it in all of these different areas to do a whole body foundational support, to support the cell. When you have, so we look at genetic health, right? Those variants, which is cellular health. And when we offset those to make healthier cells, we have healthier tissues, we have healthier organs, we have a healthier you. The body's resilience is better. Make sense?
Yes. So how many of those genes are you testing when you do your swab? Like, what does that look like from a percentage of the whole? Like
Oh my gosh, we've got tens of thousands of genes. I think they've said there's about 250 that are actionable. What we are testing is we test 103 actionable. We actually custom compound on 22 of them that impact body mass index, methylation, oxidative stress, inflammation, gut health, body mass index, energy, cognitive and brain, mood, etc. We are coming in, one, there's redundancy in how you would formulate, but two, there's certain actionable genes that I can't formulate on, such as you may have the propensity to be lactose intolerant. I can tell you about that. And I could say lactose could be causing you these issues or inflammation. Same with gluten. I can't formulate differently, but I can tell you so that you might make different decisions and choices. But we hit heavy hitters that have to do with heart health and all of these different areas that have been all scientifically validated for the nutrients. And a lot of it's plant-based nutrition. Vitamins, minerals, micronutrients in the right format, within the right dose, with the right cofactors to help offset for optimum genetic expression. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's
I love that.
amazing.
I love that. So I've done in the past, so I test my blood like quarterly, right? And so I do, because I'm an expert in the field, I'm doing my own analysis and all that kind of stuff, but not at this level, right? So this intrigues me even for myself.
So but the beautiful thing about genetics, I'm not going to come in and CRISPR your genes.
Right.
Your genetics, it's a one and done test for us to see this information. Then mapping blood work and following it.
Right, then you have a pattern to see.
Heart rate variability, depending on where you live, live blood analysis. These are ways that you could track where are you at.
So how often, if I'm coming in and you're swabbing my cheek and you're grabbing these one time, how often are you, one, tracking, and two, do the epigenetics, for a second, I know we're not testing for those now, but do those play a factor in how you're measuring it all?
Well, that's interesting. So much of our nutrition that we compound for an individual is plant-based, right? So I am not personally going in and retesting people. What we do is we partner with providers and we tell people how they could track it. Is it symptoms? Is it, do you want to do heart rate variability? You do that yourself. We've partnered with many clinics that have set up protocols of how they track this, but a red blood cell cycle, and this is something to really be important for you, every 4 months. If you're testing before 4 months, you're probably testing the blood that was there before. So 4 months is a red blood cell cycle, right? And we want to give, skin cells are every 30 days, but there's different ones that turn over at different rates. So 4 months. And then we can see. And that is the report we get back from people. They're doing testing every 4 months, 6 months, whatever they do, and my blood work looks better than it's ever looked.
This is fascinating to me because I started out with some of the other providers earlier on that were just doing it based on biomarkers, right? And I saw some really great results based on that. But that's sort of like kindergarten almost compared to this, right? Where you're getting so much into those foundational elements. So what are you seeing? Let's not even talk about me because I'm probably an outlier, right? What are you seeing with the folks that are opting in and getting tested and having these personalized, protocols put in place? What kind of results are they seeing, and how quickly do they see results? And I mean, talk to me about this because I'm just really fascinated.
The look on her face says, "I can't wait to see what stories are coming."
Okay. Well, unbeknownst to me, I'm going to start with me. Unbeknownst to me, I had gone with an autoimmune, a thyroid autoimmune. I didn't know it. And when I first started on my customized formula, I was like, oh, this has got to be a placebo effect because I want it to work, right? Month 1, it was the energy, sleep, digestion. I was like, wow, that again is a placebo effect. This isn't going to last. Month 2, didn't feel as good. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? I was having die-off symptoms. I was going through some cellular repair. Back to month 3, feeling amazing. Month 4, feeling amazing. By the end of 4 months, I'm a thin person. I'd lost 14 pounds in inflammation weight.
Wow.
I felt good. I was sleeping like a rock. You know how much happens when we sleep? Just the results for me were fantastic. Then I really started diving in. So you've been doing it longer than me, and then I started diving in and I'm like doing blood work, and I'm starting to track my blood work, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, my vitamin D levels, I couldn't get them out of the teens. Suddenly I had them at 50. And I was like, oh, yes, this is so good. And then I got them to 70. And I was like, perfect, this is where I want to hold them. So that was me. What are we seeing other than that? Wow. Well, we're a supplement. We're a customized supplement. We do not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent. What do we see? Energy, sleep, digestion, joint mobility. You know where I'm going with that, joint mobility. I have seen food allergy reversal. I have seen people that will tell me, Kim, I have not been able to go to a restaurant in 25 years and order food off the menu without manipulating everything.
Wow.
I can eat a clean cooked chicken breast and steamed broccoli, and that's what I live on. And you look at them and you're going, oh my gosh, it's their histamine response, right? Well, when you start addressing all of these things, the body comes into alignment. That specific lady that I'm actually referencing right now stood up with a group of doctors, and she said, I've had a condition that they say I have. Some people say I don't, some do. I know I can't talk about that. She said, what's crazy, this has changed my life. I can order anything off the menu now. The only 2 ingredients that I cannot have are dairy and sugar. I can eat everything else.
Wow.
And I couldn't eat anything. You're getting where we're going, right? Again, we're not here to diagnose, treat, cure, but give the body what it needs. The body does what it needs to do. We've been tracking a lady now with mast cell activation. Mast cell is becoming more and more known. It's when you ultimately have a breathal of autoimmune conditions. And it's where your body's literally turning on itself, right? You smell the wrong thing and you have a response that's out of this world. This lady in particular, she'd already had her genetics mapped. She was already addressing them. However, she was still getting five iron injections every 3 months.
Wow, that's a lot.
Because she was still anemic, right? So a lot of times you address methylation, your body automatically starts absorbing iron from the food you eat. She'd already done that, but she was still getting those iron. She had to. We've been tracking her for 2 years now. She hasn't had to have an iron injection since she's been on her customized formula. Wow. So my point there is, it's not just methylation. There's other things in there to address, and she's had an amazing response.
You know, supplements are a funny thing, right? Because if you are outside the functional medicine realm, right, most physicians look at the large ranges of normal for most vitamin and mineral ranges and say, if you're even close, even on the, I remember, so when my personal story with vitamin D was, I think I tested at 28, and he said that's close enough. And I remember,
you were at the very bottom of the low range.
Yeah.
The low range starts at 30.
No, I think it starts at 25
well,
even.
on his thing, it was 30, right? So I was right, but that's deficient. Regardless, it's deficient for normal people. So I remember I saw this and I was like, what the heck is going on with this? And he was like, we'll put you on a small supplement. And I remember being emotional watching commercials on TV, and that was one of my side effects, right? It made me sad, because my vitamin D was so low, but I didn't know that that's what was causing that. So I get it, right? But regular standard of care is to, we were talking about this at lunch, is population health data, right? How are we effective to the most amount of people with the least amount of potential harm, right? But what we continue to hear as we move towards this medicine 3.0, personalized care, and this is more than a lot of other things, right? When we're talking about genetics and that kind of stuff, is really looking at our specific, our specific engine. Everybody's engine is slightly different.
We're all different. We're all different. I can look through my whole family. There's certain things that we definitely carry that are similar, right? Like, but you may need something based on your variants that I don't need. And that's what starts to get really, it's personal. It's personal. Health is personal. Let's talk about D though for a minute. Vitamin D impacts over 6,000 pathways in the body. Okay?
So it's kind of important.
It's more than important.
Right.
Not only that, but low vitamin D is associated with all-cause mortality. And you know it as well as I. The higher your vitamin D, the less likely your immune system's in check. Your mood's more balanced.
Testosterone.
Everything, right?
Everything is affected.
So, I mean, there's so much to all of it. And yeah, some people aren't ready to kind of look at it like that. Just like some people look at this and they go, can you really customize for a person? And what does that look like? And I'm like, yeah, try it. That's where our providers, when our providers try this, and I said, just swab 2 to 3 of your patients and watch their journeys. And when they do that, that's when I start, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think that you could really do this. And then to see the results, that's what's been wild.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What have you been seeing? Because right now, all of the momentum in the women's health space, right, with perimenopause and menopause, I see this as being something that could be very groundbreaking, right, as an additional piece to that journey. And I'm not a woman. I'm
No,
definitely not.
well,
but I'm very curious, because I have a lot of women clients. Like,
So
how does this fit
think
in?
about this. If your whole body is more in homeostasis and happy in general, because you've gone to that cellular level, that's what we see quite commonly. Less symptoms. I'm not here to replace your hormones, but I'm here to get you very healthy at a cellular level. So give the body what it needs. The body does what it needs to do.
And the body's so intelligent in that way, and it's always trying to get to that homeostasis level, but when it's lacking those nutrients or the genetics are coming into play, allowing you to not be able to, process those things, that's when you get the problems. And this is essentially addressing all of that to allow the body to go into that homeostasis in a perfect way.
Right.
Wow.
Again, it's not the end all be all. Nutrigenomics and nutrition are a spoke in the wheel. We need fresh water. We need to move our bodies. We need to eat healthy diets. The perimeter of the grocery store, not the processed stuff. We all know this. But we are a key component because I'm you. And there is no way, we did an analysis of my genetics based on how much food I need to eat. I think I need like 39 servings of beef liver a day to get, and 13 cups of spinach a day. I can't do that. We know farming practices have changed. We know that food doesn't have quite people have to supplement, but how much can you supplement?
Right.
That's what I want to cut the guesswork out of that. Give you what you need. Now, am I still the end all be all? No, but I'm a very, very complex product that from there, I take an extra complex omega. Why? It's a liquid product. I'm a powder or VeggieCap formula. And somebody may need, I've got a lot of heart markers. It's something that I know that I'm here just to cut out the guesswork so that you're not taking those 30, 40 plus bottles. And then we can spend our time and money on other true biohacks, and we know where we need to biohack ourselves more.
And then it's probably a lot easier to see those markers improve versus like, I'm just trying all this stuff and hopefully something works. And this is so specific.
Yeah.
I love that last thing you said. We were talking about this earlier, actually, because I am a big believer in like figuring out what your ROI is and what you're taking. Right? Not everybody can be Brian Johnson,
Right.
spending $2 million a year on their body, and so optimizing what you're taking, and
Right.
that's even part of the reason why I took it into my own hands.
Right.
And this is sort of the next step. So what if somebody's interested in this and they think that whether they have a condition or they feel like they
just wanna live healthier.
they want to live healthier. What's the first step that they should take?
Okay, so we do a genetic test. It's an at-home, simple swab. It's a cheek swab. Okay, we do swab both left and right. We do 2 swabs. They would find that at SNiPNutrition.com. If you really want to work with a provider, you can always send us an email. We've partnered with hundreds of providers across the United States and Canada at this point. But you don't have to work with a provider. And then from that, you do that test. We're completely HIPAA compliant. We're not looking to sell your data. We own our own panel at the lab. We're only looking at actionable genes. And from there, then you get 13 reports from us. We break it down and we tell you, we're very transparent to tell you exactly how we formulate gene by gene by gene. We also back it up with all the science. And then you can decide to do your custom formula. You can get it in powder or veggie cap. It's a very clean product. Third-party tested 3 times. We test the raws. Then we make the blends based on the genes. We test those. Every time I manufacture, it's a batch. We have to do micro-testing on the batch before we ship it out. That way you know you're getting a clean product. We use some very high-quality ingredients. Quattrofolic is one of the best reduced folates on the market for methylation. Those are the types of products we use.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's what they would do. SNiPNutrition.com to order a genetic test and go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get on that list. I want to swab my cheek and see what comes up, and we'll let you know. And we'd love to have you back. We can even go over some of the things that we find.
Let's go
Wouldn't that be fun?
over your results. It is like this aha moment. When I first saw my genetic results, I was like, oh my gosh. But it wasn't scary. I probably genetically tested with every single company that's out there pretty much. And I just did full genome testing, like my full genome. There's so many things I can't do anything about. Why do I need to know that?
Yeah.
That's confusion, frustration, scarcity mind. No, let's see what we can do things about. I want to put action so that you can harness the power of your own genetics for longevity.
And I love that approach because that allows you to see what can I change, which gives a person hope. And when a person has hope and then starts seeing results, that door opens up the possibility of living a better life on a day-to-day basis, which is such an amazing gift that you can give to your clients. And it sounds like that's kind of where this company started.
Yeah. Well, we have to laugh. When you said hope, we call it hope in a bottle.
Oh,
because,
there you go.
I mean,
see, I didn't even know that.
We do. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but we call it hope in a bottle because I think we are sicker. There are more sick people. I recently met a gentleman. He was 39 years old. 6 medications. And I'm like, that's not normal. You're 30, that's...
But in this day and age, that's getting more and more normal. And how sad is that?
It's terrible. It's so bad. If you could help support your body and just be consistent. When you feel better, you do better. When you feel better, you make better choices. That's why it's all about prevention on the front end. I'm a big proponent. We should understand everybody's genetics from the time they're born. What nutrition do you need? In what format? And the right dosing. Yes, younger children are different, but just like my girlfriend that said her son was ADHD and she was not going to medicate him, how could we impact the world if we understood their genetics younger and if we know that ADHD leads to anxiety and depression?
I'm very sorry, but we have 2 more minutes.
We're almost done.
Awesome.
Anyway, so, that's where my passion really comes in, is the long term for health and wellness for the masses.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And keeping it affordable, because That's the other thing. I custom compound for an individual, $159.
Wow.
I've taken my formula to the compounding pharmacies, and I've asked them, can you do this for me? Here's all the ingredients, and this is what I need.
It's probably hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for similar.
$650 was the lowest cost I got, and they couldn't get all the ingredients that I needed in there.
Wow.
So that's what we do.
Okay, so we find you at snipnutrition.com.
SNiP Nutrition.com.
Okay.
Yep.
This is so
SNiP
exciting.
Nutrition.
Awesome.
Well, thank you
Kim,
so
thanks
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
This has been great.
Thank you.
It doesn't take one conference, it takes multiple. That's why I hope to see you guys in Chicago, Miami. You guys should join my WhatsApp group, and we all truly become friends.